Oh.
So we are in Sadik Dalit 94.
Yeah.
Said that if you bought some wheat and in there was a rock, you have to give him the value of the wheat that fills in the rock when you take it out. What about kidneys? What if there's legumes mixed with the grain? So if you buy a saw and you have one rova, a kav, a saw is I think 30 kav. If you have a quarter of a kav, so it's like 1/20th of legume, the buyer accepts that. Afruri is pachos mirova. Dirt, he accepts a little less than a rova. So the Gemara asks, "Vafruf is rova low. Why not a quarter of a kav? Hatanya moicher person chavero. If you sell produce, chitin mekabel rova kitnis l'so. You get a quarter of a kav of legumes. So oirim mekabel rova nishyoves l'so. You get a quarter of nishyoves, which is another measurement. A certain amount of moss. Adarshim, which is like lentils, mekabel of rova fruris l'so. 1/4 kav of dirt. And my lav shuadin lechitin l'sorim, so the same amount of dirt should be allowed for wheat and barley if you have a roiva kav. That pachos mi roiva. So the Gemara says, no, it's a difference between how you harvest lentils and how you harvest wheat. Shiny adoshim to me, akar, you got to dig into the ground. And you get a lot of dirt. But with barley and wheat, you harvest them. You don't get near the ground. Well, so according to that, hello, Johnny, we are on Sadik Dalit 94. Ella Taima Dadoshim Ikralu. So with lentils, you get a quarter of a kav of dirt because that's the way you harvest it. Maybe avachiti usari low. So maybe the buyer shouldn't accept any dirt. So tifshet minei chitus usari shafruvus lo mekabel at all. So the Gemara says no. La'olam chitus usari mekabel afruits. The buyer, when he buys wheat or barley, he also accepts a quarter of a kav of dirt. The chiddush was adoshim itzrachalei. The chiddush was on the lentil beans. The salkatay the chamina kiven de akriluhu. Since when you harvest lentils, you're pulling up dirt. Maybe yoisam aroiba nami lekabel. Maybe the buyer would accept even greater than 1/4 of a kav. Kamashmalan that no. We're on Sadik Dalid, Amid Aleph, Rav Huna. Even though the buyer accepts certain minimum amount of psoilus, of inferior product, whether it's dirt or moss or whatever, it can't deduct the price. However, in Bala Nafos, let's say the buyer says, no, I want to put all this through a sieve to see how much psoilus there is. And now there's more than the permitted shear, more than roiva kav. So menafe eskulo, he gets to get rid of all of the waste, and the seller has to pay him back whatever was deducted from the amount of chitin, either chitin or the money, even more than 1/4 of a kav. So Amrulay, is that dina? Va'armila knasa. The fact that the seller has to give him back the money, even all the way down to 0, not just 1/4 of a kav, is that me'ikar adin or is that a fine? Armila dina. Because mandi zuzi aperishipuriyai. The guy who's buying the fruit wants good fruit. He doesn't want to buy psoilas. Yet, the roiva lo torach inish. Now, a person doesn't want to take the trouble to go through, if there's a certain amount of psoilus, of secondary stuff that you don't want in there, it's much easier for him to just accept it rather than go and sieve out all the stuff. But if there was more than a quarter of a kav of psoilus, then tarachinish, then a person would spend the time. Now, in this particular case, the buyer decided, I want to go through it. Even the tarch bakule. Once he's taking the trouble, he's done it for everything. He doesn't want any psoilus. So that's why the buyer has to give him back money all the way down to zero, not just a quarter of a cup. That's Maker Adin. Amri lo knasa. However, other people learned that this was a fine because roiv shchiach, having a quarter of a kav or less is common. Yoiser lo shchiach, but having more is not a readily thing that happens. The ihu, the seller, we're concerned who the arif. He was being a trickster, and he added psoiles because therefore he has to sell less good wheat or barley. And now if you found greater than a kav, because it's normally not shchiach, if you found it, we have to assume that the guy did it on purpose. Kansur abon bekule. So now that if we find that it was greater than a kav, he has to pay everything down to zero, not just to a quarter of a kav. So the Gemara gives us some mnemonic, Simon, Kol Trei Shtori, the Ravin Barav Nachman, Oinova Kablanus. Meisvei. So we're going to bring a whole bunch of kashas on this concept of Ravuna. Kol Sa, Sheyesh Barova Miminacher. You have seeds, wheat, that has a quarter of a kav of grapes in it. So Ima'id, the one who's planting has to get rid of the second min. Otherwise, we're going to be klein. Savrua, roiva kloim, is the same as kiyosim roiva da'acha. Is like an example where you found more than a roiva akav of psoilus regarding buying and selling. The katani Ima'id. And it says he has to go down even less than a roiv. Only part of it, not all of it. So that's a kasha Ravuna who said you have to go down to zero. Lo, don't assume that the roiv of climb is like yoiser mikav. Roiv shel climb ki roiv adach. It's exactly the same. If there was more, he would be able to go down to zero. That there's no different in din, amayi. When there's a rova akav, you should be able to accept it. You're not overclimb. So mishum chumra decline because of the stringency of climb, we don't accept it. Yachi aim a seifa. What did the seifa of that Mishnah say? Rabbi Yosi Oimer. It's not just that he has to go until he's less than a rova akav. Eliyivor, all of it down to zero. So, that a roiva of a different min, when by climb is kiyoisrim a roiva tinoifes, is analogous to the case of greater than a quarter of a kav of psoiles dummy. So b'haka miflagi. So that's why there's a machlokas between Tanakam and Rabbi Yosi. Tanakam is loy kansina heter to isur. We don't knas heter because of the possibility of hitter. So you just have to reduce the amount of the other min to less than a roiv akav. But Rav Yossi said, no, kansin, you have to go down to zero. So that's a good way of understanding the machlokas. But Amrid, if you're going to tell me that roiv akav of a min acher is exactly kir roiv adami, so why did Rav Yossi say amai ivor? Why do you have to get down to everything? Our Mishnah said you only have to, he's allowed to keep a quarter. So Hasamainu time by Kloim, Rav Yossi mishum de mechzi k'makayim. Because of the stringency in climb, people will think that you're keeping climb in your field. Toshma. Another approach in asking a kasha on Rav Huna. Shnaim shivkidu eitz lecha. Two people are going to China on a trip. And they go, each of them go to their neighbor. Zeh mona, zeh mosai. Listen, I'm going to hold on to $100 for me. And the other guy says, hold on to $200 for me. When they come back from China, the two guys, the guy who was holding it doesn't remember who gave him 200, who gave him 100. And Zeh Omer Masayim Shali, Zeh Omer Masayim, they're both claiming 200. Noisen Lezeh Mana Ulezeh Mana. So at a minimum, they each gave him $100. So he gives them each $100. The remaining 100, which is a suffix, Hashar Yemei Munach Hachiyav Elio. Now, there's a trickster here. One of the guys is lying, right? One of the guys only gave 100. But you see, we don't make a knas to say, oh, we don't give him anything. So the same thing. When a person sold produce and there's more than a roiva akav, there's also, maybe we should say there's no knas at all.
And why not split the last 100 into 50-50? So someone,
because one of
right
them
now is losing, the one who gave 200 is losing 100. The other one is only losing 50.
He's not losing, he's gaining.
No. The one who gave 200 is only getting 100. Right?
But
the other one getting 100. So
remember, they are modeh that one of them only deposited $100.
Correct.
So it's a lowest common denominator between the
No,
two.
I understand that. But what I'm trying to say is that the 100 that you're leaving till Leo comes.
Yes.
Why don't you split that in 50-50? Okay, one is going to make 50, but the other one is only going to lose 50 instead of losing 100.
I know, but you're giving money to somebody who really.
I understand, but so Hashem will take care of him. Hashem will take care of him.
So
you get him in the Shemaim. You get his thing in the Shemaim, no? But at least the other guy.
So there is a machlokas tanoi. Remember, Sumchus learned, "Mamana mutal besofek yachloiku." We don't paskin that way. We use either a moitzim mechaver alav araya, right? One of them has to bring evidence, and if not, you leave it to Elio to decide. We'd rather not give money to the person we know is not entitled to it. That's even more than we know the guy who gave 200 is getting stuck the 100.
Okay, I mean, I understand what you're saying,
but you have a svara. You have a very good svara. Now, but the Gemara actually has a different kasha than you. We shouldn't give anybody anything. We should make a knas. Let's see what the Gemara says. So first of all, let's understand how it reflects to our case. So by the if there's yoisim or revakav, we don't do the knas all the way down to 0. So the Gemara says, Hachi Ashta. There's no comparison in the case where the guy bought 30 bushels of wheat and there's a quart of a kav. Hasam vadai manalamar. Well, we know for sure, Johnny, that each one is entitled to at least $100.
Correct.
That's without question.
Correct.
But hacha miyemer delav kula aruveran. Remember, we had a chashash when we find more than a quart of a kav of soilus, of bad stuff in the wheat. That's normally not shchiach. So we're concerned that the seller did this on purpose. And maybe none of the soilus got their beheter. So the Gemara rejects using that case to ask a kasha on the other case because it's not similar. Okay. So Toshma Miseifa. We're not done with the Baraisa about the $100, $200. Amr Rav Yosi, Im Kain. If you're going to give $100 to both, then Ma Hefsed Ramoy. Okay, the guy who gave 100. So what is he going to lose by claiming 200? He's not losing anything.
Right.
Okay, so the Gemara doesn't. So Rabbi Yosef doesn't like that. So yes, because of this, we don't even want to give the trickster anything. Otherwise, he's going to lie all the time. So yes, the guy who gave 200 is cuffed beyond belief.
Yeah.
But it's more important for the halacha to ward off tricksters and cheaters. So you see, according to Rabbi Yossi, you do knas because of the Isser. So that seems to be a support to Rav Huna. Again, the Gemara says, there's no comparison. Hasam, by the 100 and 200, Vadai Ikar Ramoy. But we know one of them is lying. Only one of them gave 200. So that's why there's a reason to make a knas there. But here, when the seller sold the 30 bushels of wheat and they found some psoilus in there, who says that he mixed it up? We don't know for sure. So that's not a raya over there that we should knas him at all. Toshma. Shtar sheyesh bo ribis. You have a shtar that documents a loan, but the loan documents interest. The lender who lent the money and had a shtar written that documents ribis, with that shtar, we don't allow him to collect not the principal, certainly not the interest, but there's a knas that he loses the principal as well. Dear Rab Meir. Well, that seems to support Rav Huna with the concept of knas. Achiash, there's no comparison there either. There, Hassam is Mishas Aksiva Huda Avat Leishuma. At the beginning, when they wrote the star, they already put 8% of interest in the note. The Averu is ribis is already done when they write the star. So that's why you knas that guy. Going back to the same issue. Who says that this guy should deserve a knas? Who says that he mixed bad stuff into the good stuff? Toshma. Miseifa of that Bryce about the star. Listen, he loaned $1,000. He gets his $1,000 back. He just doesn't get the ribbis. So there's no knas. So that's not like Rav Huna. Halacha is he collects the keren.
I mean, they each one get the 100 and that's it.
No. I'm talking about the star that has ribbis.
Oh, the star. Oh, okay.
The halacha is Eina goyves a ribbis, ela goyves a keren bilvad.
There's no knas.
No knas regarding that. Now, the Gemara now is going to reject.
How come they give up on the knas? They would stop people from writing ribbis on the star then if they give up on the knas.
That was the idea of Rab Meir.
Right.
Stop writing ribbis, and because this way you're not going to collect your. But it looks like for societal reasons, where we needed people to loan money, they didn't. If you knas them, nobody's ever going to loan money at all.
Well, I guess that's why they started the head to Isker right away. So that's what caused it.
Right, but you see, even if you wrote a star with ribbis in it, you didn't have to pay the ribbis. If halachically you shouldn't pay it, and it wasn't demanded by Besdin if it was disputed. So where's the Zochiyash? Hasam vade karna de teru. Listen.
How come the other guy never got punished? Because he's not allowed to sign a star that has rubies.
No, he doesn't. The two Adim sign the star. The Malva goes to a soifer.
Oh, I see.
And they write the name. They don't. He doesn't sign it. Two Adim sign it.
Yeah, but he saw the document.
Okay.
The lawyer saw the document.
Okay.
So he should be punished too, the Loivish document, because you both chayav the same way, kind of thing.
How would you mechayev him? To pay the ribbis? What would be the knas to him?
I'm just saying, in other words, they're saying you knas the guy who wrote it in.
Because Walter, a loan is not made without a lender.
Yeah,
Yes, I understand you need a borrower, but you understand it starts with the lender.
I'm just saying, if you're already going according to the halacha, right? We know that we say that they're both responsible.
They both get an aveira.
Right.
So it doesn't say anywhere here that the doesn't get an aveira. He gets an aveira.
Right. Okay.
But from the monetary point of view,
but the fact that the one who said it, that you knas him and you don't give him the money and you don't give him the ribbis, it's mashma that the other guy is like squeaky clean here, and he's the right one and the other one's the wrong one. That's what's mashma from the other day.
Not squeaky clean. He gets the avera. Elchanan, he gets the avera.
Okay.
He gets the avera.
Okay, I got it.
But it's a lot worse that you loan the principal, you don't get the principal back.
I understand.
So, but why is it different than the case of purchasing wheat and you find psoilus where Rav Huna knast? Because chosam vade karna de heteru, the $1,000 principal is not a problem. That's heter. But hachami yemer de kulalo river. But again, back to the case of the psoilus, maybe the seller mixed it all up and he's an avarian. So maybe there's a reason to knas him. Torshma. The Tani Ravin bar Rav Nachman. People would sell land and they would say, base kur, hein chaser, hein yeser. They would say, 50,000 square acres, 50,000 acres, more or less. That's the hein chaser, hein yeser. Now, if that thing is not 1/24th different than what they agreed to, the sale stays. But if it's more than that, so then the seller has to return it to the buyer, the money. Loyas moiser, and it's not just that which was greater than 1/24th. Bilvadu machzir. Ela machzir lo gam es kol rivon kulan. He gets all of it. Every quarter for base saw, it's like Rav Huna. You go all the way down to 0. So when we see that there was a mistake made, you have to return all of it. And that's like Rav Huna. It's mamish like Rav Huna. Go ahead, Mario, and switch it to the next plot. I'm going to start 95.